Guys, Weep here. Welcome back to another video by Variety MMOs. In today's video, we're going to be doing a class guide for the Shadowhunter in Lost Ark. The Shadowhunter is a short to mid-range assassin character that will either be completely in the face of the enemies or will be about mid-range depending on the build that you run. The Shadowhunter's defining characteristic would probably be its transformation, in which you can transform into a demon and get different types of attacks like so. So the assassin type is much like the other assassin type available in Lost Ark. Nice, fluid, slightly higher mechanics than some of the other classes that are available, but still very fun to play. So today we're going to go ahead and have a look at its leveling abilities, class abilities, and a Chaos Cube guide to help you clear content quickly. So let's have a look at the Shadowhunter's abilities. So the Shadowhunter is a little bit different from many classes, and that you get new abilities when you transform into the demonic state. So we're going to cover the demonic state in the third step. So the first set of abilities are Nimble, Slasher, Demonic Slash, Spinning Dive, Cutlery Cutter, that is a terrible translation, Thrust Impact, Brutal Cross, Grind Chain, and your first awakening is Gate of Outburst. So let's summon some mobs in and use them. And let's finish up with our awakening ability. The second set of Shadowhunter abilities are Demolition, Spinning Weapon, Sharp Cut, Genocide, Rising Claw, Demonic Vision, Demon Grab, and Pierce Thorn. The final two abilities we were unable to see are Howling and Dissipate. Okay, so earlier I didn't show the second awakening because the second awakening requires you to transform. So a little bit later in the video, we're going to be talking about the Chaos build. And the Chaos build that I'm going to show you is going to be completely focused on using abilities in a way to boost your recharge rate as quickly as possible, so you can get into the demonic state as much as you can. So when you go into demonic mode by clicking Z, you're going to get a bunch of new abilities here. You're going to get Rune Rush, Death Cloth, Destruction, Gore Bleeding, Leaf Blow, and Blood Measure. So we're going to get out of that. Feel good. So we're going to go into demonic phase, use the demonic when powered up, and then we're going to use the ability which requires you to be in the demonic state. As you can see, demonic state is much more interesting in my personal opinion, which is why I like to play with this build. And the final ability. So as you can see, the demonic state is pretty cool. So that covers the basic abilities for the Shadowhunter. When it comes to the Shadowhunter, I believe that there's only a couple main abilities and everything else is just kind of filter. So one of your main abilities is going to be Demonic Slash, but it's mostly for mobility. You're going to be using Cutlery Cutter, basically to kill mobs in a straight line. That's all that really does, but it's your high damaging ability. Your thrust impact, you're going to use on bosses. And your genocide, you can either use on mobs, or you can just use it on the boss to do a lot of damage. The rest are basically just kind of single target damaging abilities, which can kind of be, you know, switched in and out with any of your other abilities, depending on how you want to play the class. Okay, so let's spawn a couple mobs and show you what I mean. So we'll be using this to move around. You're going to find that your ability cooldowns are probably going to be the most annoying thing when leveling up. So these 4 abilities on the bottom are completely interchangeable with whatever you like to use. So for example, you can swap into other effects like Slasher and go basically more single target and only use the Cutter and the Genocide for damage if you wish. Keep in mind that this is recommended at level 31. Once you get a couple more skill points up towards 40, it does open up your leveling experience a little bit. Just at lower end, it's a little bit basic as to what you can do with your abilities. Okay, so that covers the leveling portion. Let's move on. So let's have a look at the Chaos Build Guide. So before we go into this, I want to mention a little bit about it. So with the Shadowhunter, I believe there's 2 general builds. One where it focuses on getting your recharge quickly to go into demonic state and using demonic abilities to do your damage at kind of like mid-rangey. Or you completely focused away from the demonic transformation, making it impossible to transform, and you focus entirely on abilities that don't recharge your rate and instead do more damage, which is more of a melee and throwing around blades and stuff like that. For this particular guide, we're going to go more of the demonic rate. So all of the abilities that I'm running are basically boosting how quickly you can get your demonic state back up. Now, to note on this, to do this build, I'd highly recommend that you have this. So the translation is going to be a little bit different, but it's your 1 of 2 character slots that you can have on. When you equip this engraving, it's going to make it so you don't go into cooldown, and it's going to make you more powerful when you're in it, depending on your level. So for example, if I click Z, I'm now in the demonic state. I'm now stronger because I'm level 3. But if I didn't have this, I would have a 30-second cooldown and I wouldn't be able to recharge it. So not only would I not be able to recharge it for 30 seconds, then I would have to recharge it, taking potentially up to 60 seconds to get back into demonic form. So if you're going to run this type, I'd recommend getting your class engravings from the Chaos vendor as soon as possible. It doesn't take that long, so you can get it pretty quickly, and it can work without it, just not quite as well. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're doing. So we're going to be using Demonic Slash to move around quickly. We're going to use Thrust Impact, Rising Claw, Genocide, and Decimate. Basically is like a single target and boosting my demonic rate. Alongside Demonic Grab, I guess it's like more single target, but it can be kind of used AoE. But again, it's boosting my demonic rate. You'll note that the entire build here is basically about boosting the demonic rate as fast as humanly possible and getting back into it. Here we have Demon Vision, which will do a lot of damage, increase our rate, and Howling, which is basically will do your AoE. So let's spawn some monsters and I'll show you what I mean. So here is your getting around ability. Here is some of your single target abilities. They're not necessarily single target, but they're not exactly great AoE either. And here's your AoE. And then your final AoE would be Ornament. So as you can see, my bar is almost already full. So let's spawn in a bunch of them. Reset cooldowns and go to that. Okay, so it's basically full, so let's just fill it up. Then we'll something a little bit stronger. A seed and a couple of named. Okay, so now we're going to transform. as you can see, I'm a lot more powerful when it comes to demonic form, which is why I want to get into the demonic form as fast as possible. Okay, so that covers the Chaos Dungeon part of the guide. As I mentioned, please make sure that you go and get that engraving because it really is important for this build. You really need to decide one way or the other. Your abilities either need to lean into demonic mode or they need to lean out of demonic mode and do damage. If you mix them, it's just not going to work. Okay, so that covers everything for the Shadowhunter guide. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.